Hello everyone, we're out in the garage and I have a pretty cool video for you. This is the Mesa 25 watt Badlander. There are 3 Mesa Badlander models on the market, the 100, the 50, and the 25. I always say don't buy the 50 because the 100 comes with 50. So why did I buy the 25? Well, it's cute and tiny, that's the first thing, and everything's cuter when it's tiny. But this will have a different power section in it because it's 25 watts. It'll have EL84s. Some people prefer that tonality. Some people don't know the difference of the tonality when comparing amplifiers. Another power section that Mesa Boogie makes with an EL84 power section is the Mesa Mini Rectifier and the Mini Rectifier Reverb, so the Rectiverb. But this is brand new to the market. All I have into it, I have a cable going to a Keeley modified Ibanez TS9 that I wanted to try out, and then that cable's going straight to the amp. I don't have the foot switch in. We are going into a Mesa 212 vertical cabinet, and it's being recorded with an iPhone. I'm playing this horribly loud because that's what you should do, I think. A couple features to note. I did take this apart to look inside it because I do that with everything. It has the 2 notes IR in here, so the direct out should be identical to what is in the Mesa Badlander 100. The only thing I had handy to try the direct out into was this chunk of shit Gemini speaker, and it actually sounds pretty good. For our settings, our gain is at 130, treble is about 11, mids just about noon, bass noon, presence noon. Our master volume on this is at 10. We are in the 25 watt mode, and we are on the crush setting. So I don't know if you do your amplifier settings like I do, but if you're familiar with the Badlander 100, the 50, and the 25 at all, it's 2 identical channels. So if you set each channel identical, they will sound exactly the same. So in my mind, I always organize it. The clean would be up top, the dirty would be at the bottom, or the cleanest at the top, the dirtiest at the bottom. On top of the amplifier, just in the interest of full disclosure, I have the Mesa EL84s that came in it, and yes, before someone corrects me, I know that Mesa does not make tubes. These are rebranded by another company. I was having some noise in the amplifier when I put it in 10 watt mode. As you can hear, there's the pop that you'll normally hear, but there's no additional noise going to the 10 watt mode. That pop you hear, that's going to be capacitance discharging, just so you have an idea what that's about. But so when I flipped it to 10 watt mode, it was going pretty loud, and it didn't matter what was plugged in. Looked at the back of the amp, the one tube's red plating. It's going to be a relationship on the push-pull of the tubes in there. So I pulled that out, put a set of known good performers in, and we're in good shape here. So, all right, without further ado, I'm going to play just a couple quick riffs and give you something to work with here. And what video that I make wouldn't be complete with okay, so we'll do roughly the same thing with the TS9, and the knobs on the TS9 are just a little bit below noon all the way around. So let's give this a shot. tube screamer. So tube screamer's back off. And you know what, to make sure we're not coloring the tone at all, we'll do this here. We'll just go straight in. We'll keep our settings the same, and we'll go to the crunch mode. And then we'll do the same settings with the clean mode. I'm actually surprised it stayed as clean as it did, especially because I'm using a Seymour Duncan distortion here. Okay, if you notice that I pause in between speaking after I play this, it's because I've noticed when I record these with the iPhone, if I have something super loud and then I immediately speak, it doesn't pick up right away. It's almost like the iPhone has some sort of dampening in it to make sure it doesn't die from how loud I play things. So on the top channel, I actually had this set a little bit differently, and this would not be a setting I would use normally, but I have the master at 1 o'clock, the presence about noon, the bass at 1:30, the mids just shy of noon, the treble just shy of noon, and the gain at 9 o'clock. And so we're going to switch to that clean channel, and we're probably going to adjust it because it's going to be too chimey, too bright, and it's going to bite a little bit too much with that distortion pickup is my guess. There you go. I already know it will. So we're going to dial that back. So the mid's going to go back, not quite as far as a treble. Bass is going to go up, and our presence is going to go back. Lot cleaner, very bright. That would cut really nice. Any 60 cycle hum you hear, it's because these single coils are true single coils. They're DiMarzio SDS1s. So just hear that. You go to the bridge humbucker, you don't. So that's just 60 cycle hum. Okay, so I'm going to go with those same settings to the crunch mode. So that hum's going to be amplified because, like I said, true single coils. And mind you, that's with the gain on this at about 9.5 on a clock, so 9:30, 9.5 on a clock. What an idiot. About 9:30, so very low setting on that. Now I'm going to go to the crush, same settings. Shits and giggles here. Let's find the other end of that cable that went into the tube screamer. We're going to do a little switcheroo again. We're going to put the tube screamer back in, and we'll use those same settings. Make sure we're on. Yep. I'm going to go to where I had it before, which is a lot louder. So this is the other channel. It's going to sound different because it's geared differently. Remember that. So switching down the channel here. Okay, now going to mess with some of the knobs on the second channel that we have set to crush. Just for shits and giggles, let's dime the gain. We'll do the same thing with the gain at noon. Put the gain in line with the channel LED, so that would be about 3 o'clock. Sounds really good. So some of the sample settings, when I read it in the manual, and this is from owning the 100, I noticed that they don't have the bass very high on these, and I'm not really sure why, because to my ears, and every time I've used the Badlander 100 live, I tend to run the bass about where I have it here or a little bit higher. But a lot of the sample settings I see, they run it lower. So I'm going to put it here to 9 o'clock, and I imagine I'm not going to like it. So treble is at 11 o'clock, mid is just shy of noon. Kind of like how Kyle does his, almost noon, you know, a little off, but not much. So here we are. Let's do it with the bass at 3 o'clock now. So the complete opposite on the extremes here. Little bit more low end than I think I would go with it. I think I'm going to live with it probably here. Let's try it at 1 o'clock. Pretty good there. I like that. I'm going to pull the treble back just a touch. No, actually, if I remember correctly, those sample settings, they had the treble where I thought it'd be bad. So let's go with the treble up and the mids back a little bit. I don't hate that at all. Put the treble back at noon, and I'm going to put the mids. So a lot of rectifiers, I think they actually sound better. And when I'm saying rectifiers, I mean the traditional, the 2-channel, the 3-channel reborn, the multi-watt. I always like them with more mids in the mix. So I have the mids now at about 2 o'clock on this. Be a little too bright for me there. So we're going to pull the mids back. The mids are now at about 10. And we're going to push that presence up just a little past noon. I think that sounds really good. So let's get this, even though that wasn't on for any of the recent ones, we're going to take the tube screamer out of it. So all we have in it is just the guitar, the tube screamer is out. And we're going to go to the 10 watt mode with the same settings that we were just using. I like that a lot. So, going to go back to the 25, again, just the guitar, tube screamer's not in it. And I'm going to put it probably where you may have it in a band mix at your local club before your drummer starts pounding on shit and before your bass player comes out with 50 10-inch speakers and starts rumbling the floor. So this is before anyone else starts making noise, and the sound guy's going to come over and tell you that you're too loud. And then I'm going to bump it up a little bit to where you would be probably at a band mix level at a local club. And then I want to show you, because I've actually had this dimed already when I was diagnosing the tube issue. I want to show you what happens. There's a point when you turn up the master that you don't get more master volume. You just get maybe more saturation, maybe less tone, more tone, I'm not sure. There's a photo floating around of Keeley when he was playing a small box before he got his model. He was playing a Friedman, and the channel masters were both cranked. I'm sorry, but not channel master, the masters overall. Cranked, dimed out. I want to hear it. I want to get my hands on one of them just to do it, to see what it sounds like, because what did he know that we didn't know? Anyway, so here we are, 25 watts. I'm going to turn the volume up a little bit. Presence, we're going to move that back to noon just for this experiment. Bass is at 1:30. The mids are at about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and the treble's at noon. Gain is at 3 o'clock. So here we are, the master for what we were doing with the last sound clips. Your sound guy's going to come over and say, you're too loud, turn down, I'm not going to be able to get you in the mix, and then then you're going to be able to be where you were. So this is going to get you in the trouble going here. So the master right now is at 11:30. So this is going to be damn loud. So what I'm going to do now is, I don't want to get the cops called on me. I like my neighbors and they like me. I'm going to hit an E, let it ring, and I'm just going to dime the master and then come back. And it's probably going to clip the phone, but this is what you'll hear. if you could hear, I did a scream with it as I went from all the way off the maximum volume. So once you get to about halfway, we'll say, let me give this a listen. I would say half, maybe a little past on the master is going to be your maximum usable volume in the crush setting. You get a little bit more. Now, this is important to understand decibel wise. So if something is 100 decibels, it is only 1% more difficult to get to 101. It's substantially more difficult. So your average speech is at this volume, but you notice you have a loud talker and you have to talk loud to them. It takes more energy to sustain that volume. And increasing in volume in an amplifier, it's the same thing. You look at a 25 watt amp, you go, oh, well, it's only a quarter as loud as 100 watt. That is not true at all. Here's a perfect example. So here's where we are volume wise. I'm going to leave it in 25, hit the chord, switch to 10 watt, and you'll be able to hear. If you have a meter on your computer, you'll look. This does not cut the volume in half, even though we're going from 25 to 10. Didn't cut the volume in half. It probably took us from a much lower volume. Probably. So you can almost hear me talk over this amp at about 9. I would say this would probably be. Let's go to 10 while we have it that low. So you're not going to be able to hear me super clearly. You won't be able to hear me super clearly over that, but that's pretty low volume. See if we can get usable sound lower. Put that in 25 watt mode while we have the volume almost off. And there's a perfect example of what I was saying. It doesn't cut the volume in half. So when you look at these 25 watt amps, don't look at them as, oh, this will be the perfect amplifier for my bedroom. I can play super, super quiet. No one will hate me for it. You're going to want to play the amplifier louder. They just sound cooler that way. But with that said, there's usable tones, lower volume, because you know when you're playing lower volume, you're not going to sound like you're playing higher volume. This does have the 2 notes cab IR like I spoke about. I've used it live on stage with the 100. I'm assuming this is the same. I have ran it into the speaker. The speaker behind me is not a good example of quality, but it sounded damn good through there. What I can tell you is the 100 watt Badlander sounds awesome through a PA, through the direct out. If you're playing in small clubs, it's handy because you don't have to have a mic stand in front of your cabinet. And we're talking where a square foot matters in some of these cramped stages. So if this is one and the same, which I believe it to be, the direct out's going to be awesome. And frankly, these are the best direct outs that Mesa's made with the Badlander series, the 100 and the 50, and likely this. The effects loop, it's tube driven. It's a series effects loop, which is the better between series and parallel. It's going to be clean, just like you would expect, because it's going to be the same effects loop circuitry, very similar to the Mesa Mini Rectifier. And if any of you have used them, they're awesome. The wattage switch, I find that this actually tames the volume a little bit. It's not going to cut it like you think. And you get a solid state power section out of it when you use the Mini Rectifier. I did not read the manual to see if that's the case with this, but I believe it to be the case. Now, this in 25 watt mode, the volume, and I've noticed this with the Badlander and the Triple Crown that's behind me here, older Mesa Boogies, my multi-watt dual rectifier as an example, it seems like there would be a volume, okay, not enough. Holy God, it's too loud. This here, it seems like the sweep is getting better with these amplifiers. So it's not, oh, not loud enough. Oh my God, you know, tearing down the house. So just something to bear in mind here. So I'm gonna leave this where it was for the quieter stuff. And just turn it up a little bit. So we moved it to about 9 o'clock here. 10 o'clock. 11 o'clock. Maybe that's more 10 o'clock if you're really truly looking at it. But the volume really begins to open up. You get a little bit more body at that point. So we're going to go back down here. So this is in the off position. That'd be about 7 o'clock. Go back to the 9 o'clock area. So there you have it. I'm kind of rambling on at this point. 2 EL84s, 5 12AX7s, 2 driven effects loop, direct out, 8 impulse responses on the cab clone here. We have, let me look at the back of this here while I do this. There's a headphone out, ground lift, USB for putting in new impulses, and the only difference to stock is this has my test set of EL84s in it. I'd buy this again in a minute. This is a lot of fun, and I have a couple more videos I'll do with this one here for you when I get to play with it a little bit more. So I hope you enjoy.